Andrew Herrick. Graduated from Babson College with a bachelor's degree with a dual major in management and entrepreneurial studies. Andrew was founding partner of Pedro's USA, a bicycle lube and tool company. He was former marketing director of GT Bicycles. Andrew is a current board member of the International Mountain Bicycling Association, IMBA. Andrew joined Crank Brothers in 2002 and is a partner and commercial director. Based on his extensive experience, Andrew was looking to maximize Crank Brothers' Asian operations.
Our company is about a 9-year-old company, and we make pedals, we manufacture all of the stuff in Asia. We manufacture pumps and tools and other accessories, etc. We serve the OEM market, and we also serve the aftermarket. Sourcing in Asia is one of the most difficult parts of the whole business, for sure. We feel like selling, marketing, designing is actually the easy part, to be honest. Well, the hard part is sourcing and working with factories and purchasing and forecasting, and anything related to the supply chain is very, very tricky. Very, very tricky. Well, we hired Box about 2 years ago, simply because our business had grown beyond the scale of our ability to just manage it from the U.S. We needed a much more sophisticated program than we had been using. And this is, I think, fairly normal for a lot of the American companies. They start small and the business is simple, and then as you start to have multiple vendors and multiple products, and just the overall size and scale of the business increases, you need to start looking at other ways to do it. And for sure, the program that Box had put together is the best one that we've seen. So we think of sourcing in Asia and managing it ourselves is quite simple. It's quite similar to a wealthy individual managing their own taxes. You simply don't know all of the different things that you need to know. And the worst part is you don't know what you don't know. And so identifying those things is a very tricky thing for any of us. It comes down to local tax law, logistics laws, certainly freight, details of anything related to freight is a very tricky thing, and it's an area where businesses can lose a lot of money if they don't know what they're doing. And this is Box Solutions' game. It's exactly what they do. Much like hire an accountant if you're a wealthy individual trying to figure out how to pay their taxes. So, well, consolidating inventory we feel is absolutely critical to servicing the customers correctly. We have experienced a number of different ways to service the customer. But it's quite difficult to consolidate the inventory at the port or to ship individually to the customers around the world. They simply don't want to be serviced that way, and it's quite inefficient. What you need to be able to do is get it all in one place from all of your different vendors so that it can be shipped out the door at one time. And the customers insist on it now. And it requires a lot of transparency between you and the customer and you and the vendor. So you're looking forward towards the customer and towards the market, and you're also looking backwards into the supply chain. And if you can figure that all out and bring all the product into one place, then you can service the customer very, very efficiently. The biggest issue that you have as a Western company or a non-Taiwanese or a non-Chinese company is that you can't be a shipper. So you can't just ship something. You have to have a company. You have to have something, a foundation set up, and Box Solutions for us is that foundation. Yeah, the problems that you encounter when you don't have all of the inventory in one place is trying to get all the product on the same boat to the customer. And when we were doing that, shipping, that is, from multiple vendors, and shipping to the port, consolidating at the port, they call it, it was only successful probably less than 50% of the time. There's a complete lack of transparency, and any one of a number of things can go wrong along the way, none of which are necessarily your fault. And sometimes they're not anyone's fault. It's just a matter of circumstance, but yet the customer suffers, and which means you in the long run, you suffer from such a thing. I think right now having real-time inventory is critical in the current marketplace, especially if you're a challenger brand as we are. We use our inventory as a business tool to move quickly and swiftly and adapt to the market. It's very dynamic right now. In a growing market that is that is also segmenting very quickly. So why that's critical is you need to have the certain product at the right time for the right customer and available and ready to ship. And so if you cannot see your inventory, and if your customers don't have the ability to see your inventory up to the moment, then you can't move quickly for them, and you can't adapt quickly. So it's been an advantage for us because we are a challenger brand. And being a challenger brand means that we need to be ready to fill holes in the marketplace very quickly. And that's been a big part of our strategy for the last 2 years. Well, prior to working with Box Solutions, our inventory was managed by our vendors and was kept by our vendors. And sometimes it was very difficult to get any kind of transparent information or quick information from the vendors so that you could react quickly to the marketplace. So by using Box Solutions, we're able to bring our inventory into one central place, have visibility to it, and then move very quickly when we need to service the marketplace. And that's critical for us both in the aftermarket and in the OEM business, servicing the large bike companies. Well, the challenge that you have with vendors is that they also have the same challenges that you do. We're actually quite similar in many ways. And they also have shortages. They also have sub-vendors that don't do what they've promised. They also have things like electricity shortages in China, for example, or rationing of electricity or electrical power. So you don't always get a consistent delivery schedule from distributors, and there are a lot of broken promises. Some of this happens by circumstance, as I said, and some of it happens through a vendor that's not as sophisticated as perhaps you'd like them to be. But the end result is that you don't get the product when you were told that you were going to get the product, which means you've now broken a promise to your customer. And there's not much worse than that. Well, prior to using Box Solutions, our logistics process was to drop ship from a vendor to the customer. And again, this was anything but transparent, and it was anything but consistent and reliable as well. The complexity came for us when we started using multiple vendors, because the customers don't want to receive individual orders coming from the different vendors in Taiwan. To them, a Crank Brothers product is a Crank Brothers product, and they just want to have it received in a timely manner. But because we were using multiple vendors, we had to rely on the delivery schedules from multiple vendors, and so sometimes two vendors deliver wonderfully and one doesn't, but to the customer, Crank Brothers has failed. So that system was not working for us, especially when we went to multiple vendors. Well, it's critical, again, as I had mentioned, to have a Taiwan branch office for a Western company in the current marketplace. And a lot of that is directly related to the fact that you need to be able to trade and practice commerce in Taiwan. Your shipping companies, your trucking companies, your billing and finance, etc., are all managed in Taiwan. Now, that's not something that most Western companies can do on their own. And Box Solutions has set up this incredible infrastructure in Taichung, which allows us to operate as if we were an Asian company. And it's quite transparent, it's quite simple, and can be run 24 hours a day, and sometimes is. With the inventory very close to our vendors, any problems can be corrected very quickly, and very often they're vendor assisted or even vendor managed. So this product can be turned around in 24, 48 hours sometimes and made ready for the marketplace. And that's important when you're consolidating, because that means there's other product that's waiting there to be shipped. And if you have one defective product or one mismarked product in the bunch, you need to correct that quickly, because perhaps the other 80% of the order is waiting to be shipped. The biggest thing that it means financially in terms of having the inventory close to the supply chain is, for a small company like us, it relates directly to cash flow and our ability to turn that order into a receivable, which eventually turns into cash. And so any time in the supply chain that can be saved has a direct impact on the company's cash flow. And there's nothing more critical than that to a growing company in particular.